Welcome, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're exploring philosophy, politics, and current events. We've got a collection of articles and blog posts, and, well, hopefully you'll walk away seeing the world maybe just a little bit differently.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a good mix today. Academic blogs, some philosophy forums, even a news analysis site. So, yeah, lots to dig into.
Okay, cool. Let's jump right in. Two pieces from the American Philosophical Association blog caught my eye. One argues that Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance was, get this, showcasing the joy of hatred.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then the very next post we see is all about progress for all humanity. Kind of a weird contrast, don't you think?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? What do we even mean by progress? Are we talking purely material stuff, or is there like an ethical, maybe even spiritual side that we're missing?
Huh. And this Lamar piece suggests that even art can be a way to celebrate negativity, which I guess challenges how we think about artistic expression.
Absolutely. It kind of makes you look at things from a different angle.
Totally. And speaking of different angles, there's this blog post on hubris that takes us all the way back to the ancient Greeks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the author's arguing that too much pride, like ignoring natural order, it always leads to someone's downfall. They even compare it to some world leaders we see today.
I see. That hubris idea, it gives us a way to understand what those in power are doing. When leaders just toss aside ethics, and forget about the human condition, things can go really wrong.
Right, right. Like that whole Oval Office thing between Zelensky and Trump. It was in that Sacerdotes article, remember? Ideology clashing, no respect, diplomacy just crumbles on the world stage.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty stark reminder. What one person does can have huge consequences globally.
No kidding. Okay, switching gears a bit. The conservatives in the Academy of blog posts, they're raising a red flag about higher education. They say there aren't enough conservative voices.
Yeah, that whole viewpoint diversity issue, it's a tough one. Is it absolutely necessary for critical thinking to challenge those norms? Or does it just give a platform to, harmful ideologies?
Right, and then it spills out of the academic world and starts affecting society as a whole.
It's a tough question. How do we make sure everyone's voice is heard, but also protect against harmful ideas? No easy answers there.
For sure.
Okay, now for something totally different. Let's talk about reality itself. This blog post, Physics and the Philosophy of Intrinsic Properties, dives into what physics can actually tell us about, the nature of matter.
That sounds pretty deep.
It is. So the author, they break down this difference between intrinsic and extrinsic properties. Intrinsic is like what's built into a thing, and extrinsic is how it relates to other stuff.
Okay, I think I'm following.
And then they use that to show how maybe a purely material view of the world isn't the whole story.
Interesting. So what else is there?
Well, hold on to your hat because they bring up panpsychism.
Pan what? Panpsychism. It's the idea that consciousness is baked into everything. Even rocks, like inanimate stuff, has some level of awareness. Pretty wild, huh?
That's definitely out there. But it does make you think. If consciousness isn't just for humans or animals, then, how connected are we to everything else in the universe?
That's a big question. And it kind of ties into that Daily Notes data showing more and more students turning to philosophy. Maybe they're looking for answers that physics just can't give.
Yeah, it's like science keeps advancing, but then we're left with these bigger questions about, existence and consciousness. Maybe philosophy holds some clues.
Right. It's a fascinating trend for sure. But okay, last one for this section. Can philosophy help us understand all this AI stuff that's happening? There's an excerpt from The Myth of Thinking Machines. And the author's argument is basically AI can never truly be human.
Oh, really? Even with all the advances we're seeing?
Nope. The author says AI can do logic and processing like crazy, but it's missing that lived experience, emotions, that sense of meaning we have.
Makes sense. It's like no matter how smart machines get, there's this human element they just can't grasp.
Exactly. And the author cautions us, don't overestimate AI. Don't lose sight of what makes us human. As AI gets more sophisticated, we have to think about the ethics of it all. What happens when we create machines that might, one day, be as smart as us?
That's a question for the ages. We've got these huge philosophical questions about the universe and our place in it, but then also these real-world worries about how technology's shaping everything. It's a lot to take in.
It is. So we've got the big picture stuff, and then we'll bring it back down to earth a bit, right? How does all this affect us on an individual level? More to come after the break.
So picking up on that idea of solitude, there's this piece, Insomnia and the Secret Life of Ideas. It dives into Kafka's thoughts on, sleeplessness and creativity. What if those sleepless nights could actually spark something?
That's kind of cool. Mace is saying even struggles, like even annoying stuff like insomnia, can help us like have creative breakthroughs. Maybe all that late night anxiety is actually our brains wrestling with big stuff, trying to find new answers.
Right. It reminds us that discomfort and challenges that can push us to grow, you know. The human mind, it often does its best work when things are tough. But how do we stay connected to others in a meaningful way when we're going through all that?
Good point. Well, there's this piece called Words for Conviviality, and it looks at like how technology affects human interaction. It's like this double-edged sword. Connects us globally, but can also make us isolated and, well, maybe a bit superficial.
Yeah, I see that. The article worries that technology can trap us in echo chambers, you know? We don't get exposed to different views as much. So the trick is to use technology, but use it wisely to build real connections and understanding.
So it's not about ditching technology entirely, but using it on purpose to build bridges and have real conversations.
Exactly. And speaking of conversations, that eighth Sunday of ordinary time reflection, it really emphasizes how powerful words can be to build up or tear down. It's a reminder about integrity and humility when we communicate.
It's like a call to action, right? To use our words to encourage and inspire, not spread negativity.
Yeah.
Especially in a world where everyone's always arguing, being kind and compassionate in how we talk to each other, that can make a real difference.
Yeah, it brings us back to how much impact our individual actions can have. When we communicate ethically and have thoughtful discussions, we're helping create a better, more supportive environment.
Wow, we've covered so much. The nature of reality, technology, the power of words, individual action. It's kind of overwhelming.
It is, right. We've gone from huge philosophical questions to these everyday challenges, but you can see how they're all connected. What's standing out to you so far?
I keep thinking about this theme of personal responsibility. Whether it's like what world leaders are doing or the words we say to each other, each choice matters. It shapes the world.
That's a huge takeaway. In a world that feels so chaotic and confusing, realizing that our individual choices actually have power, that can be really empowering. We're not just watching things happen, we're part of making the future.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we turn all these big ideas into actions that actually make a difference?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's what we'll tackle in our final segment.
So we've explored all these complex ideas, but now how do we actually use them in our lives? How can we take action based on what we've talked about?
Yeah, turning philosophy into something practical, that's a challenge. We got to move from thinking to doing. Maybe we could start with some strategies.
Okay, that sounds good. We were talking about solitude, how it's important for reflecting and processing. So how do people actually work that into their lives?
Start small. Like
Hmm.
each day, take a few minutes to just unplug, disconnect from all the tech, and just be present with your thoughts. Go for a walk in nature, maybe meditate, or even just sit quietly with a cup of tea. The important thing is to create space for yourself, to recharge and reconnect with yourself.
I like that. Those quiet moments can be really powerful. It's a chance to step back from all the noise and demands.
Mm.
We also talked about how technology can be tricky, how we need genuine connection. How do we find that balance?
Be mindful about how you use technology. Don't just scroll mindlessly, actually engage with it. Connect with people you care about, have those deep conversations, and focus on building relationships that really feed your soul.
So it's about quality over quantity when it comes to being online.
Exactly. And remember, technology can be a fantastic tool for learning and growing. Use it to explore different viewpoints, to grapple with tough ideas, and to broaden your understanding of the world.
We can create an online experience that's more enriching and less draining. And then there's the power of words, something we talked a lot about. How do we apply that to how we interact with each other every day?
Cultivate kindness and compassion. Be thoughtful about what you say. Speak with empathy and understanding. Use your voice to spread positivity and hope.
So it's not just what we say, it's how we say it, right?
Yeah.
Our tone and intention matter a lot.
Definitely. And sometimes the most powerful way to communicate is without words. Listening to someone, just being there for them, a simple act of kindness, those things speak volumes.
Actions speak louder than words, right?
Right.
But when we do speak, let's make our words count.
Right. And keep in mind, all these practices, they're not just about personal well-being, they ripple outward. When we live with kindness, integrity, and critical thinking, we're making society more just and compassionate.
It's like a collective awakening. The more people embrace these values, the better our future can be.
This deep dive has really highlighted how much power we have as individuals. Even small choices make a difference. by being curious, seeking solitude, having meaningful conversations, and choosing our words carefully, we can make a positive impact.
So true. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this deep dive. We've explored philosophy, politics, current events, and it's been quite a journey. We hope you feel inspired to take these ideas and use them in your own lives to help make the world a better place.
And until next time, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep engaging with the world around you.